Well, hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this Rider's Ramblings. Rider Ramblings today. I have my mask on, which is obligatory in this part of Paris while you're riding a motorcycle. So I do hope it's not too muffled, the sound. Not really much I can do about it actually with a mask. Anyhow, what I thought I'd do today is look at the FJR, which is what I'm riding. And I thought I'd go through what I like and possibly what I don't like. Now, the first thing is I like virtually everything about this bike. There are, of course, one or two little niggles, but in general, I love this bike. So, let's look at the actual things that I find really good. And the first is the torque. It's amazing. It doesn't matter what the gear you're in. If you need throttle, it's there. And you can just ride it out. It's fantastic. Especially if you're in town or like I am in an area on the outskirts of a major city. I find that I spend most of my time in sort of second or third gear, and I really don't need to worry about which gear I'm in. It's just there. It's fine. It's marvelous. So, number one is the amount of torque. Number two is the handling. Now, this bike is heavy. I believe that the curb weight is 292 kilos. I'll put that in pounds on the screen. I'm not too sure what it is. But that is a heavy bike. And it's so easy to maneuver. It really is. In the garage, pushing it around, yes, it can be a bit of a pig. Even when you're on the balanced point, it can be a bit of a pig. Moving it around. But as soon as you've got any way on, as they say in the Navy, you are off and around. It's amazing. You can just at very, very low speeds, and I'm talking sort of under 5 miles an hour, she's really maneuverable and really, really easy to maneuver anywhere. You know, it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. The weight just disappears, and becomes exceptionally handleable, if that's a word. Handleable, yes, possibly. So, yeah, absolutely fantastic, maneuverable, and that type of thing. The third thing is the protection from the elements. This is very much a sports style bike, but I found that the protection from the elements is very, very good. It's got quite a large frontal area, so you are protected. The screen at the moment is in the lowest position, and I'm doing about 70 miles an hour, approximately. And I don't really know about it. Now, I'm quite short. I'm 5'8.5". And yes, I can feel a little bit of air on the helmet, but I've come off sports bikes, so to me, it's not something I'm worrying about at all. And if you need it, the windscreen is electrically adjustable, as you can see. And for me, in the uppermost position, I'm in a complete cocoon. Absolutely cocooned from most of the elements. I have used it in anger when I've been out and about and the temperature has dropped considerably and I'm not necessarily wearing warm gear. I've been able to quite literally raise the windscreen and it stopped me freezing to death on the bike, though I doubt I would ever freeze to death on the bike. You never know, it's possible. So the protection from the elements is good. Now, a lot of people say these bikes are hot and so on, but I haven't had that problem at all. It's I haven't felt the heat from the bike, and I do have the leg protectors at the bottom on, which are an added extra, which I had put on. So they do trap a bit more of the heat inside. I must admit, I do use, they've got some flappy panels down here, which, when I say flappy panels, you have to manually move them, which you can do to keep the heat in, so it's not so bad. So this is the, well, it's a 2019, but the update was 2016. So all the changes, or most of the changes, were made in 2016, and they did do a lot of work on the insulation for the heat and so on. So, excuse me a moment, I'm just filtering. I have the side cases on, and I also have protectors for the side cases, and as you can see, I can filter quite well. I know this is illegal in some countries, but here it is perfectly legal and it's expected, and you'll actually find cars will usually pull over for you to give you a bit more space. So anyhow, getting back to the weather protection, I find it's very good. I'm very pleased with it. I think it's excellent. Okay, so what's the next thing I like? Well, believe it or not, it's the electronic suspension, because I do sometimes carry heavier items. It's rare that I actually have a pillion passenger. I do sometimes have a pillion passenger, but it is rare. But I do sometimes carry heavier items, which I put into the side cases, because the top case, although I have the top case, you might be able to see it just there in the mirror, is not very good for carrying weight. It's only got an 11 kilo limit, but I'll talk about that later. So getting back to the electronic suspension, it basically means I can just touch a button and change the suspension. Now, I do know that the latest BMWs do it as you're riding, and they change it for the speed and the terrain and this type of thing and the feedback from the road. You have to remember this is an older technology bike, but I don't have to go and get the tools out and start messing about with tools. I just decide, am I going to be carrying something or am I not? And if I am, then quite simply, it's the vent, sorry. if I am going to be carrying something, I can just touch the button. Well, there you can see how I can set part of the suspension. You can't see the other part because you actually have to be stationary before it will allow you to change that. But you can actually change the suspension a little bit on the fly. And at the moment you can see I've actually got it set to hard, -3, but I've also got it to 1 person plus luggage, even though I haven't got any luggage in at the moment. So that's set like that simply because of my weight. I'm probably a little bit heavy for the bike, so for the 1 person, KTM coming through. So I'm a little bit heavy for the 1 person, the 1 rider on the bike, so I usually have it set to 1 person and luggage, and if I'm carrying anything heavy, I can set it up to 2 people, and that does the business. Or I can just change the suspension settings and make it hard -2 or hard -1, but that's better for the corners and the general ride, as I say. Right, what else do I like? The other thing I like, which you might be able to see on the screen there, is the heated grips, because you can actually program the amount of heat into the heated grips. So different times of the year you can have them set to different levels. So when they're on level 1 in spring and autumn, you can have them on a low level 1, and then in the winter you can have them on a higher level 1 if you wish. So that's good. I do have heated grips on my other bike as well. I do believe in them, but this is good. So yes, and you might actually also notice I have it in touring mode, and rather than in sports mode, and that's simply because I'm in the city. In the city, it's how can I put this? It would be very easy for me to lose my license if I put it into sports mode, because I find that although all it really does is sharpen the throttle response, sports mode, I do tend to go a bit fast with it, so simply because I seem to accelerate up there a bit quicker. Anyhow, yes, so you've got the different modes, the sports and the touring and that type of thing, and you can change the settings with the mode button, which is just here. Very comfortable, very flickable. I take these out onto very small country roads, and I do mean very small, and she is really good. She is both a tourer and a sports bike, and it seems to be a good mix between the two, because she will travel long distances, no problem whatsoever. Just put them in 6, raise the screen a bit. You can sit on the motorway, the auto route, the whatever, for hours on end without a problem. And there is, of course, cruise control, which you might just be able to see here. So you can just set the speed and not quite go to sleep, but you can relax and just enjoy what's what. So the cruise control, how can I put this? I use it. I didn't think I would. When I bought the motorcycle, I didn't buy it because of the cruise control. I bought it because I wanted a shaft drive touring motorcycle that was reliable. And And I looked at the BMW, and then I spoke to a number of friends of mine who had BMWs, and I decided that BMW was not a reliable motorcycle. I also did some research about it on the internet and found that they were rather low down in the reliability tables. So I wanted a reliable shaft drive. That's what I wanted. And there wasn't a lot of choice. I mean, I could have got a Goldwing, but that's nearly double the price of this motorcycle. It really is. It you know, we're talking nearly double. I could have got a Kawasaki, but I don't know. There was just something about the Kawasaki that I didn't really like, so I went for this, and it's fine. It's great. I mean, it's got ABS, it's got traction control, it's got the linked brakes. It's got everything I need for what I want. Now, yes, you can turn off the traction control, and there has been a couple of times I've done this when I've been out in the countryside, and I've got onto some, how can I put this, rather interesting country roads. So I turned off the traction control because the amount of mud and sand and gravel and other such detritus on the road. So yeah. So that's a good little button you can use if you get into, how can I put it, the more interesting road surfaces. I mean, I can still filter through narrow traffic even though she is quite a wide motorcycle. It is still possible. I have my feet up. My feet are on the pegs. They're not actually touching the ground. And it's quite easy to filter through the traffic. I must admit I probably don't ride this enough in traffic, because I could probably do this gap here, but the problem I have is that I've got luggage protectors on, and they will make a real mess of the paintwork of cars if I get a little bit too close, and I'd rather not do that. And so I'd be okay. So anyhow, I really do love this motorcycle. I do. It's a really good motorcycle. If you're thinking about buying one, I would recommend it. Yes, people say that the dash is a bit old-fashioned and that type of thing, but it does exactly what I want it to do. It tells me how much fuel I have, it tells me what revs I'm doing, it tells me what speed I'm doing, it tells me all the information I need to know, and I can actually change what it's showing me at any time. Oops. They're digging up here. Let's see what's going on here. Right. Oh, bouncy, bouncy.